what we're going to do tonight is we're going to deviate a little bit from what we usually do. We're going to talk about poetry and what it means to us. But I have some friends of mine who are going to be hopping in and joining in and doing a little poetry for us. So you guys are in for a really good treat. I am so excited. So without further ado, I want to welcome our first guest. I'm like so nervous. Like she's coming on screen and I'm nervous. How does that even work out?
That's real love right there.
I be, you know. So without further ado, I don't want to catch her while she's off guard and laughing. I want to welcome Miss Anna Masacote. What's up? Anna, can you say something into the mic just to make sure that we can hear you, that we got your audio's good?
Hello, hello.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Well, I'm excited for this conversation. So,
oh yeah. Oh man. So for those of you guys who don't know, as I said before, for you guys just tuning in, Ana Masacote has done amazing things in the Boston and Rhode Island salsa scene. But one of the things, well, actually, broader than that, the only things that I know of are Boston and Rhode Island. She's literally traveled the entire world doing all sorts of things. But I know y'all are on the internet, so y'all don't believe me anyways. But I'll let her tell her story. But before she does that, I'm gonna big her up just a little bit more. One of the ways, yeah. Well, listen, you're on the screen now. You can't say no. You can't back out. So there's that. I first noticed you, I think 3 years ago. I don't remember the song. I remember the outfit. It was like a brown kind of flowy leotard thing, and she was doing an Afro-Cuban kind of salsa dance. And I was like, she is getting it. Look at those curly hairs and the flow. And it was just like amazing, you know? And I had no idea who she was. I was like, all right, that's nice. I'm going to go dance now. Come to find out, there's a whole group of people that know her and dance exactly like her. And then find out years later that the coach that I'm dancing with now, oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart.
Anara?
Right. Oh my God, I can't believe it. She's going to kill me. So that they are very good friends. So it's like I'm in great company. So I'm super excited. So, all right, I'm done now. You can now tell your story in your own humble words. And then we'll get into the poetry.
Lumir gives the best introductions.
Yo, like no joke. I'm like, stop gassing me up. Like, oh my God. Yeah. So your mentor, right? Anara is my mentor and amazing friend. And so she's just very near and dear to my heart. So definitely love her. But yeah, I know when you're live, it's hard to remember everything. Also, I missed the get a mic memo because.
No, you're good. You're good. Oh man.
So, like, I need a special mic to make me sound good. Hold on a second.
You're good. Oh man. Like I said, every episode, I'm like, guys, this is nothing fancy. My commitment to you guys is two things. One is 100 episodes. This is episode 13. Technically, it's 14, but on episode 7, I counted it twice. We're not going to talk about that. It's episode 13. And then the second thing is that I promised to you guys that I would get better every week. It literally started with me on my laptop with the little camera. And then I was like, Amir, you're a photographer. Like, you got no excuse. You got to do better. And a month later, we got mics and HD cams and lights and a co-host and all that. Yeah.
Big things. Lumir got big dreams, man.
Hey, you know.
Making things happen, right?
Right. Anyway, so Anna, tell us your story.
Wow, that's a load of questions. Let's see. Long story short, I am a Chicana transplant from Dallas, Texas, born of 2 immigrant parents. And I have been dancing pretty much all my life. And one of the lesser known facts is that I love poetry. I started it when I was 16, and I started it as a way to really write my truth into the world. Mm-hmm. I felt that you know, as a queer girl, I didn't have support from family, from friends. And so that to me was my way to just use hidden meanings, you know, but to tell my story and find the support in my own words. And so that became it for me. And I still have done it since then. I don't speak it out or perform it very much, although I'm doing that a little more in the last couple years. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, I think, Sherry, what are your thoughts? Because I could talk all night, but you know.
I think, you know, Anna, what I love about what you just shared, it really makes me think about, you know, we talked earlier about gender. Well, not gender. We talked about expression and sometimes things that are hard to express. And for me, poetry has been an opportunity to really sit in an expression that can look very bold and visible, but at times very coded, something that you have to work with to understand. And it can feel like an experience. And it was definitely my experience with gender. And poetry was definitely a vehicle for me. And I think about so many other folks that poetry has been a vehicle for. And the one that comes to mind immediately is like James Baldwin. You think about someone like James Baldwin, who Black man, talk about fluidity and talk about living boldly and vibrantly in that fluidity, but using language to really bring people along and have people feel seen in his journey. Anyways, those are things that came up for me as you were talking, and it made me very excited.
I love that. And just that expression, I mean, everything that you're saying is just yes, all yes. But I also think that sometimes we want to be seen, but we don't see ourselves. And poetry sometimes does that for us. That definitely did that for me. And it allowed me to see myself. And then that made me more confident to be able to be seen.
That's real.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think for me, the most exciting thing about poetry is it's like a secret superpower. Because if you think about it, it's like you walk down the street. I could be, 5'8". I'm gonna say that like it's tall, because I could be 5'8", well built, and I'm like, and people will look at that. They're like, all right, word. I'm not gonna really approach him. Or I could be whatever the standard of beauty is in your country or your region. Like, okay, wow, I got the feels, But the person that's always unassuming, that just walks by you have no idea. But when they open their mouth, they're moving mountains. They're like commanding respect and attention. But more importantly, like they're changing lives. They're changing generations. How many times have you referenced a poem that you heard half of when you were like 10 years old, that you didn't even realize that you're probably misquoting, and it changed the direction of your life?
Yeah.
One of those people.
Or just talk about movement in general, Lou. Like, think about the Asada chant. Think about, the protests that we've seen all across the country.
Sure.
Folks are bringing forward and channeling, right, movement, elders, ancestors, individuals, and they're all bringing that through with words that are rhythmic, but also have deep meaning and connection to what the experience that they're engineering should be, what their hope is, what their pain, what their expression it looks like, and why they're there. It's like a rallying cry. And I think, just like Anna said earlier, like poetry is that individual, but also external community, like rallying cry. It can be, anyway.
It is.
Amen.
I feel that. So, without further ado, Miss Anna, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So, if you need a few seconds to get ready, do your woo saws and your ums and your ohms, let me know. But if you're ready to go,
so you want me to do a poem for you? Okay.
No. Don't do it for me. Do it for you.
I appreciate that.
I'm excited.
He's like, do it for me.
Yeah, no, but seriously, like, we're in a time with highs and lows, and I was having one of those days. So when you told me this was happening, I said, yes, I need me some poetry. So I appreciate that, doing it for me. So I have to stand up, because I usually I have to stand up for my poetry. I think I'm going to do Bad Hair, and I got to stand up for that one. So don't mind me. All right.
In the words of the Negro spiritual, stand and be counted, my sister. Stand. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure I get you on the screen. All right, Anna, you are ready to go.
My hair is a living, breathing being. Her heartbeat, born of the blood of my indigenous ancestors. She roams free like a Mustang, untamed curls galloping wild, dancing to the skip of a mariachi beat, and everywhere she goes, she commands center stage. Her spirit, no longer caged behind the mental anguish of assimilation, the thought that different is bad, or bad is not good, that embracing a culture means rejecting another, or that identity is only welcome when conforming to your type of standard. But the problem is, my hair refuses to be standardized. This kinky, nappy, frizzy, tangle knotted mess of hair, too stubborn to be trained and regulated. And don't you try to iron out the inferiorities of my Medusa strands. There's no match for their kind of superpower. They mutate back to life, contorting and distorting, carving out their own space in this world, creating one that paints a tapestry of intersectionality somewhere between a song and a dance full of cumbias and gyrating hips where our native tongues purr sweet colors on the palettes of our raíces. And Señorita Grammar has an art studio for creativity. So made up words like parquear, chequear, textear, all have an existential home. A home where we define ourselves and I define me. This is my world. Chicana, brown, unapologetic, and proud of my bad hair.
Yes, let's go. Oh man. Yes, Anna, you gotta spit that truth. Shame the devil. My goodness.
That was awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
man. Yes.
I'm
Oh,
just happy to
man.
move. I'm just happy to move a little.
Oh my gosh, that is like one. I love Medusa hair. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Tell us about that piece. Tell us more about that piece.
Yeah. Well, for that one, when I was a girl in middle school, I was transferred on a minority to majority transfer over to a school in a district that was mostly white kids.
Yeah.
And so when I was transferred, a lot of the kids would make you feel uncomfortable and unwanted, unwelcome. And, you constantly hear words like wetback. And of course, my parents are immigrants and you don't know how to respond to that. And so around that time, I wanted to try to look like the other kids. And I remember going home one day and, there were all these kids that, had straight hair. One of the girls said, "Oh, I ironed my hair today." So I went home and I pulled out an ironing board.
Oh no. No.
I had bent my hair over and I was like, "Oh, no, iron my hair." Ended up with a burnt head of hair and not understanding what it meant. And it took me years later to understand that, what makes us different is what makes us powerful. But yeah, that was sort of my first exposure. So that idea of assimilation is where that was a battle I had to deal with when I was a youth.
Oh man. Wow. I dig it. Sherry, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess my question is, well, one, just thank you for sharing. I think that it's a powerful story and one that resonates. I don't have any hair now, but I used to have a lot of hair, and it looked very similar to your hair. Like, so it's like it's a little bit interesting to be. I'm like, wow, that's what I used to look like with hair. But one of the things I'm thinking about is something that you said, that you've actually been into poetry for a long time and it might surprise people. And you haven't shared a lot of your poetry, but you're doing more of that now. And so my question is, how does it feel when you share your poetry, and how does it feel when people to know that people are listening to you when you're sharing it?
Yo, deep question, and it's a good question. I will say that I for me, when I was a kid and I started dancing, I was always really, really, really shy. And so dancing helped me find a sense of expression and a form of being in my body, owning my body. And there was that sense of speaking through it. So poetry still felt like I was suppressing my voice in a way by not speaking it openly. And so the reason why I started performing my poetry more was because I started realizing that the way that I write is a little bit more of a form of storytelling. Well, many of us, like, we all write because we're writing our stories into existence. But if we don't speak them out into existence, we're allowing others to tell the story for us. And so the power behind that for me is just this feeling of not apologizing for taking up space and just being able to be present, which allows somebody else that may be going through those same issues to be able to be open with that too.
That's real.
Yeah.
Miss Anna, Sherry, anything else before I transition?
No, Anna, thank you. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for offering your thoughts. I just feel so honored.
Me too.
Anna,
appreciate you.
any words for your adoring fans or your new fans that are like, what? She poetized?
There are no.
I want more of your poetry.
They're gonna be like, she poetized?
How?
No, well, you can find me at anamasacote.com. There's no fans. There's no such thing as fans for me. But yeah, you can follow my work. You ever want to be a part of it? I'm all for that. And I follow you, Lumiere, but I'm going to be following you, Sherry. I hadn't followed you yet. So yeah.
Followers, thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So Anna, feel free to stick around. We may do like a group chat if there's time later on. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you follow Miss Anna Masacote at anamasacote.com. That's it, yeah?
Yeah. Or anywhere on Instagram with the same name. Perfect. Instagram, Facebook, wherever.
Fantastic. All right. So
right now, I'm pulling it out. Make it happen.
So we're going to make sure that we get all of our social media information on the screen during our third shift shout-outs. For those of you guys who are just joining, it's the If You Stream It, They Will Come podcast. And today we're talking about poetry.